Hey, I'm Michael Vancek, and you're watching The Creative Process. It's a collection of videos that explores the creative life. And for decades, I have worked with musicians from around the world. So it wasn't at all surprising when a guy named Gabriel Odor contacted me from Kenya through some mutual friends, and he said that he had a group called Kenge Kenge Urutu System. And they were hoping to come on a tour through the United States. He wanted to know if they could come and play in my area and record with me. So I said, sure, I do things like that all the time. I contacted David Badniani, who does a world music series out here, and got him on board. And soon after, a guy named Stephen E. Boyd contacted David to say he would like to book some things in Cleveland while the guys were here. So we got that all scheduled and everything seemed fine. Then as the date was narrowing in for the group to get here from Kenya, I asked Gabrielle, so where are you staying while you're out here? And Gabrielle said, we had something lined up, but it fell through. I said, that's a pretty big problem. So I asked him, how are you getting around while you're out here? And he said, I don't know. I said, you have no housing and no way to get around? Do you have a budget? Do you have a credit card where we can, get you an Uber and a motel room or something? And he said, no, we have no money. So that's when it occurred to me, that's kind of a crisis. We've got 5 musicians and all their equipment coming here, and they have no place to stay, they have no money, they have no way to get around. And so I said, well, how long are you going to be out here? Usually it's like a weekend that somebody passes through an area. And he said, a month. So that's when I realized we've got to somehow find a way to get housing and food and paying gigs for a month for these guys. It's kind of a crisis. So Stephen and David and I were just scrambling to piece together things, and it was pretty stressful. And then Kenge Kenge Urutu System arrived in Ohio, and that's when things got interesting.
The members of the group arrived, and we quickly got them into our friend Carl Walter and Emily Parker's home. And while there, they immediately started playing music and cooking for people and just immediately creating a sense of community. It felt like we'd known them forever right away. And one of the other things that they did was very soon after they arrived, they started working with local musicians. Honestly, what we didn't fully understand until we got to know these guys better is that they're actually kind of a big deal. They performed in major festivals around the world, including WOMAD, Smithsonian Folk Life Festival, the Rainforest World Music Festival in Malaysia. They played at Lincoln Center. They were on NPR's All Things Considered. They also got international attention when they performed on a BBC broadcast a song they created for Barack Obama called Obama for Change. It was a song that they developed because Barack Obama's father came from the village that some of them had lived in, and they did something as a tribute, and it got broadcast all over the world. The instruments this group plays are interesting. Well, first of all, their name, Kenge Kenge, the first part of their name, means the fusion of small exhilarating instruments. And they actually make their instruments from scratch. Some of the things they play are the Urutu, the one-string fiddle made of carved wood and covered in monitor lizard skin. The other is the Niariti, an 8-string lyre that's strung with heavy fishing line. The Asili, the high-pitched flute. Bunde, which are the drums. Oporo, which is a horn made out of cow or antelope horns. And one of the more unusual instruments is something called the sound box, which is a wooden box played with a stick and a ring of metal. The members of Kenge Kenge Urutu system really were interesting to see over a bunch of concerts because every night they did something different. There might be a different outfit or a different interactive thing they do with the audience, or they had such a wide repertoire they could play different material from one night to the next. So it was really interesting to see that they weren't one of these groups that just has a set they play over and over and over again. They really read off of the audience and came up with something that would really nail it for any particular night.
That you're gonna experience tonight is something that just came together earlier today through the efforts of Heidi Weissel, who's here with us today. And there's a very famous musical group from Western Kenya on the shores of Lake Victoria called Kenge Kenge Urutu System. They've been in existence for 21 years. In that time, they've performed at almost every important festival in North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. Malaika, ninakupenda malaika. Malaika, nakupenda malaika. How I love you.
this crazy space that we're in right now, to hear something that's simple, that's clear, that's joyous, and lets us feel happy about this life that we're living right now. That's a blessing and that's a healing. Babu, the leader of this group, said something to me early on, and I said it to a crowd. He wasn't really saying it to me, it was to a crowd. He said, music is the healing. And that's what I want to see art used for healing.
The members of Kenge Kenge Urutu system are really focused on the benga rhythm, which is synonymous with the music of Kenya. And they're doing primarily acoustic music, which is an attempt to really preserve a tradition that otherwise would get swallowed up by Western music. Often when I meet people from around the world and I ask them about the music they listen to, they say things like hip-hop. And that's true in places around Africa or Asia. And often when you ask about the folk music, they don't know much about it. So this group is really working to maintain something from their own culture and preserve it and be ambassadors of that tradition.
So one of the really big lessons I learned from Kenge Kenge Urutu system is that they were more than just great musicians. They had a real power to create community, to bring people together and to make deep friendships very quickly. And I noticed that when they were talking about coming out here and I was thinking about, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for this or how are we going to feed these people, I was thinking like an American, and that they kind of came in with trusting the universe and being willing to connect. So in that, all their needs were met. We had wonderful people who rose to the occasion and helped. And those people that were well served by the experience because they got to know these guys and have them in their homes and things. So it was a meaningful experience for us and for them. I really feel like I learned a lot about the sense of community in Kenya and how different it is from that sense in America.
You just have to wonder what the neighbors are thinking right now, huh?